So we're here for podcast number less than 10 because I've forgotten what we're up to.
It's
9?
I think it's 9.
9, all right. It is podcast 9. We've got a few extra additions to our podcast team this time. We have Astin, myself. We have Alex Smith in attendance, who was a member of the well-known AAA team that debuted at the Australian Open last year.
Dream team, yep.
Dream team. Didn't win, but we had fun, and that makes us the real winners. We also have in attendance Nathan Locke, who has shot a rat with a carbon one, spin wings and a clicker from over 100 metres.
100 metres?
Very impressive.
That was not 100 metres.
We can't provide documentation to back that up, but that is a story that will remain.
Target bow hunting is underrated.
Just in, this is podcast number 8. On time. So we're actually here at the Indoor World Series in Sydney. So we were all in the recurve men division, so we finished our ranking round now. So we're going to have a few interviews and guests in this podcast. But before we get into that, we might just talk about how our ranking rounds went and what's on for the rest of the weekend. So Astin, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, so qualifications today, the recurve men and the compound women this morning. Currently, as we're recording, the recurve women and the compound men are still doing their rounds. Personally, my round went okay. It wasn't the best one, but about half the ends were good. Had a few shots that weren't great. We had the first round of matches as well, so not my best match, but still won and through to the next round. So we can hope for in tournament. Really, keep going as long as you can.
Alex?
My ranking round was suboptimal, I can say that. I think it might be the worst I've shot for about 10 years. But after that, I definitely came back in the match play. I think I shot about as many 10s as I did in the whole ranking round, so absolutely destroyed my first match and through to tomorrow. And so after that, does it really matter?
Very nice. And Nathan?
Yeah, it was a bit of an interesting ranking round. Had a really good 10 count, but there was a miscount as well, which is unfortunate. But first ever win indoor world level event, so it's pretty nervous, but shot reasonably okay. So unfortunately didn't make the 32, but we've got our secondary tournament tomorrow morning, so top seeded into that, so hopefully should go alright.
And Nathan, you've been shooting for how many months now?
I reckon probably 11.
11 months?
Yeah, 11 months, yeah. A couple of breaks in that, but definitely don't train hard enough, but it's inspired me to shoot more now. So.
And what's your indoor PB?
279.
After 11 months?
After 11 months,
yeah. So that's
not bad.
That's pretty good.
I shoot, in practice and stuff like that, shoot, 260s roughly, most of the time, but dropped down to 4.9, I think was my best today.
Well, that's just coming from a big scale competition as well. It's very
absolutely.
different.
So, it's been a long drive, long comp, but I've had fun. It's good experience to come in and shoot world level comp. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's the first time we've had a international event in Australia since 2002.
2002 was the world field in Canberra.
Yeah. I was 6 and remember it fondly. Don't remember that event.
That was, Sydney Olympics.
Sydney Olympics. Yeah.
I think there was in the 90s, there was a world target championships in Adelaide.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Before my time.
So not the last events that we're going to have in Australia. So we've got a few more in the next few years. We've got the Youth Worlds next year, and hopefully a few more years of this indoor event as well.
And do you want to explain the format for the next day of competition?
For tomorrow?
Yep.
So tomorrow, so at the indoor tournaments, it's only individual match play. So we do a qualification round and then we do match play. So today we did the 1/16th round, which is the top 32 archers, and there's 16 matches there. So we're down to the top 16. So tomorrow we'll be through those further matches, all the way through the medal matches. The bronze medals will all go concurrently, I believe, and then we'll have individual gold medal matches, and those should be live streamed, I believe. And you can watch those matches once they've been uploaded or live streamed on World Archery on the World Archery channel on YouTube.
Yep. Cool. All right. So we're going to have a few guest speakers in this podcast. So we'll be back with you in a minute. And so we've got an interview now with Ian Bessell, who's the Vice President of the Burnie Bowmen. So the Burnie Bowmen are based in Tassie, and they're holding the Senior and Youth Nationals over 2020. Thank you, Ian. We kind of threw you under the bus a little bit here, just grabbed him about 2 minutes ago.
Thanks, mate.
So we've got a few questions. The first one we'll start with is, when was the last national event, A, I guess, held in Tassie, and B, when has Burnie last held a national kind of event?
The last national event in Tassie was the Australian Open. I think that was 2013, 2014. But the last national event, senior and juniors, I think it might have only been seniors, was in 1972, and in Burnie. And it's actually going to be, the target part is going to be held on the same field that we held the 1972 nationals.
Right.
It's in exactly the same ground.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How long has the club actually been around for?
The club was established in 1958.
Okay.
Yeah, by a couple of railway workers, had nothing to do.
Mm.
So they started archery, and Burnie's, I think, is about the second longest club in Tassie.
Right.
Yeah.
So 48 years on, they're going to be holding the same event on the same field as the last nationals, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So as far as like organising the event, what are the kind of different logistics you've seen between organising the senior nationals versus the youth nationals?
Mainly just the format of the event. The youth has the match play part, where the seniors don't. But generally, basically, it's the same, but probably more. The biggest issue would be parents and spectators. You'd have more spectators, I assume, for the youth. I've never been to a youth nationals, so and most of our people wouldn't have been to a youth nationals. So
Yep.
looking at probably some guidance for that.
Yep.
But I think probably more spectators, parents, and that being involved.
Yep.
And our field event and target event being run concurrently, and our field course is about 10 k's away from the target range, and getting parents getting the children backwards and forwards from there. It's something they'll need to think about and work on how they're going to do that. We'll try and schedule the events to sort of start giving them enough time to drop off and come back. Or drop off one lot and go and drop the other lot if they've got multiple kids. Being involved in the event.
Okay.
So that's basically much. The other stuff is probably much the same.
Yep.
So big people and little people, I suppose.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned the field course there. I know last time I was down, you showed me a few of the angles out there. So without giving too much away, what should we expect from the field course at Burnie?
A bit of a challenge for the youth. Not too many youth would have seen it, but yeah, it is a bit of a challenge. There's quite a few steep uphills and downhills. It's about a 2.5k walk around, and that in itself is a bit of a challenge. It's not a hard course, but when you get to the end of it, you're glad you got to the end of it.
You know you've done it, yeah.
Not too hot.
There shouldn't be too hot. The only issue, if we get a bit of rain, it becomes a bit slippery.
Okay.
And hopefully all the snakes will be away by then.
It'll be good as well, because a lot of, I know within Australia, where a lot of the national fields have been held in the past, it's been quite flat courses as well. So I know you say it's not that hard. I think it'll probably shake up some scores a bit as well and return to what field's all about.
It'll definitely shake up some scores. Although it does your brain in a bit more than anything else because of the angles. People aren't used to cutting so much. Yep. In a couple of the areas. The field course for the youth won't be exactly the same one for the seniors. Hopefully the youth one will be a little bit easier than the seniors. The seniors will be a few extra harder targets.
I guess the longer distances gives you a bit more to work with too. Yeah,
and steeper.
Yeah. No, really good.
So
Okay.
that should be good.
Yeah, nice to shoot a different course, especially if there haven't been that many national events held down that way for a while. It'd be nice to shoot a fresh field course as well. Yeah.
So how long is it between the two events, and how much time do you have to make any of those changes that you need to make between the two events?
Well, the youth are in April, school holidays, and the seniors in October, school holidays. So we've got about 6 months or so. So it should be plenty of time. There isn't sort of using the youth part as a sort of a trial for the seniors, so that any things we need to sort out, it won't be too much sorting out. The field course is generally pretty well self-maintained.
Yep.
So and we regularly use it once a month, so we sort of tend to work on it when we use it.
Okay. And how long has the lead up and all the planning been to actually get to this point? Like, when did you first decide we're going to hold these events?
Well, I don't think it was I don't think we decided. I think people from the Masters Games decided that we should, because they enjoyed the Masters Games.
That was 2019 you held the Masters. 2017 you held the Masters. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So since then we've had a lot of feedback, positive feedback from the Masters Games saying, when are you going to hold the Nationals here?
Yeah.
And that's where it sort of generated from. The only reason why we're doing it this year, 2020, is because the alternate years is when the Australian Masters is on.
Okay.
So therefore, and having to hold the seniors in October would clash with the Australian Masters.
Yep.
So that's why we're holding it in the year between the Australian Masters.
Okay.
So
and how many hours of work do you say you're up to thus far as a ballpark? That's a scary thought.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent. We've got a few guys that are doing a lot of stuff, doing a lot of background stuff. Sort of, getting suppliers, sponsors and stuff like that. So there's a lot of work happening in the background that you sort of don't see when you go to an event.
Is most of that support coming from within the club, or is the rest of the Tasmanian community supporting you, or the national community supporting you in that regard?
Yeah, we got a couple of clubs, our club and a couple of other clubs, and Archery Tasmania are supporting us with funding and with organising things. So it's a bit of a joint event, but most of the workload has been done by the Burnie people, and we're getting a lot of input from the community, wanting to help, wanting to be involved. So they're doing a fair bit as well. So which is good. Yeah.
And how big's Burnie as a club? Like, how many members do you guys have down there?
We tend to sit between 35 and 40.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're taking on 2 nationals. That's pretty impressive. Jeez.
Yeah.
How easy do you find it to get volunteers for that kind of number?
Pardon?
How easy do you find it to get volunteers if you've only got 30 or 40 members?
Up until the last few years, we sort of haven't had a big volunteer base within the club, but we've now got quite a few people that really are willing to help out and get involved and really we're looking forward to it. So they're actually getting involved in it. So a lot more is coming from within the club that we would have had previously. But there is quite a good volunteer base within the club and people doing things consistently.
So a lot of clubs struggle with getting volunteer support when they're running events. How did you approach? You said you're getting a better volunteer turnout than you were previously. How did you go about achieving that?
Well, I think it's just people want to be involved in it. Being a national event, being involved in it, want to help out. Our biggest part we're going to have is the seniors, because most of the people in Tassie, or the archers in Tassie, will want to be involved in the actual event. So we're going to try and program it so that we can get as much involvement from the people, the archers within Tassie. But hopefully we can get some of the juniors to come up and help out, as the senior guys will help out with the juniors. So so most of the support from the juniors will be the seniors, and hopefully vice versa. But we've got quite a few scout groups and other groups within the community that are always kept involved with things like this. So, because as part of the 72 Nationals, apparently the local scout groups or the Army Cadet, or some of the Army Cadets were actually involved in the scoring process. So they didn't have electronic scoring, it was radios and stuff like that. They were actually recording the scores. So,
Right.
so that was...
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we try and get some of the senior scouts and that sort of stuff involved in the volunteer process as well. So,
Do you think that'll draw more people into the club, giving you that exposure as well within the community?
Well, I hope so. Yeah. Sort of that with any event, that's the idea, isn't it? To try and get more exposure for archery within the community, and being so close to the centre of the town, it will get a fair bit of traffic past, so we should get a fair bit of exposure. And the Burnie City Council's very much behind us. They've given us quite a substantial amount of money for both events, and they've sort of bent over backwards to help us out and get it off the ground.
Does that sort of help you with targets and that sort of stuff?
Well, the funding for it, we've only got 20 targets ourselves, so we've got to buy another 20 odd to make it, and some of ours are reasonably old, so we've gone through the process of getting them repaired or replaced or whatever.
So you essentially have to double the club's infrastructure.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Jeez.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like 40 targets is about what you'd expect at Nationals?
Yeah, we're sort of going off the numbers from the last couple of Nationals, so we sort of, for both juniors and seniors. So that's what we're looking at. Whether we get more or whether we don't, we really don't know. But hopefully during for the seniors and the youth, because it's in the school holidays, Tassie school holidays are in the middle of most of the other states. So people either come down to Tassie prior to the Nationals and have a holiday, or come down to the Nationals and stay and have a holiday. So it's a bit more involved in the community, into the state.
Good for tourism and that kind of stuff.
Tourism.
So what's the weather like in that part of Tasmania, in that part of the?
Are we expecting world records to be set?
Will it be windy?
Will it be cold, humid, wet, windy?
Take your pick.
What can we expect?
Lucky different weather. That's always good.
Well,
in April and in October.
April, October, probably pretty much the same time of year. So it's a couple of months before the end of the year, October and the end of the year. So April, I expect, would be a little bit less, a little bit cooler. So it's probably reasonably cool. So it could be quite cold. The October, when we held the Australian Masters in 2017, it was in late October, or mid to late October. So, and the weather was fine then, but it's hard to say. It will be what it is, but hopefully it won't be stinking hot. It definitely won't be hot, but hopefully it won't be too cold and wet.
Yep. And do you have? I know you said before you looking at numbers of past events. Do you have like a ballpark figure you guys are expecting?
Yeah, we're looking around about the 150 mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the same between both events?
Roughly. Probably a little bit less than the juniors, but hopefully we do get that now, because the last couple have been a bit low.
Yep.
But hopefully with Tassie being a holiday destination as well for a lot of people, we'll get those numbers up a bit. That's what we're hoping. 120 to 150 would be good for the juniors.
Okay. And are there any kind of challenges that have come up so far that you guys just didn't expect at all? Like anything that's kind of jumped out at you?
Mainly the targets, target butts, and getting them organised. And we've got a few through Alec. We've got some others to order as well. So just our biggest issue is getting his freight from the mainland to Tasmania. So that costs us a fortune. But we do have freight companies that will help us out. So
Do you have any sponsors of the event at this stage?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to feel free to shout out if you've got them?
We'll Tas Archery Supplies will be there. They've really helping out with target faces and a few other bits and pieces. They'll also have Roger will also have his shop on site
For both events?
Both events.
Cool.
Yep.
Yep.
So he'll be there. The Burnie City Council, Events Tasmania.
Yep.
Archery Tasmania. Hopefully a few Sprayton Water, which is a mineral water place, a few other places like that. So yeah, a few of the others I can't remember.
Yeah, and more will probably come on as you get closer as well.
Yeah, get closer. Yeah.
Do you do anything accommodation wise? Like, do you provide, have accommodation sponsors or anything like that?
No, we haven't as yet. But we'll probably look at that more for the seniors.
Yeah.
The juniors would sort of tend to, parents and that, they sort of tend to want to get their own locations that are much cheaper, or come over with a caravan or whatever.
Yeah, there's a family of 4 or something. Yeah.
So.
Okay. And what are you most looking forward to besides finishing the event? What's kind of like your thing you're looking forward to? Do you actually get to compete in the seniors? Will you have time to shoot as well?
I hope to, but
Okay.
I normally compete in all the events, but I probably won't. I might just pick 1 or 2 to do it. Just depends what happens and closer to the date.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of it, we won't have some money in the bank, but I think more for the experience for people.
Yeah.
Some more to get Burnie on the map.
Yep.
And for people to have a look at the field course and be able to go away and enjoy it the same as they did for the Masters. So that's basically all, just for people to enjoy the experience.
Yep.
And hopefully we run a good events.
And where can people follow Bernie Bowman and everything that's going on in the lead up? Do you have any accounts?
We have a Facebook page.
Yep.
Which we haven't sort of put too much on the nationals in, but we'll
Yep.
start doing that shortly.
That's just Bernie Bowman on
Bernie
Facebook?
Bowman,
Yep.
just Facebook Bernie Bowman, you'll find us. We have a website, but we don't sort of do much on that, but
Yep.
Facebook would be the place to go.
Facebook. And if people want to enter, they just go through Archery Australia's.
Archery Australia,
Yep.
it's all, the youth registration's up.
Yep.
That's been up for a couple of weeks now. And we'll get the seniors one later on.
And when's registration closing for the youth nationals?
About 14th of March.
14th of March. All right, so still a couple of months to get entries in.
Yeah, a couple of months, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you for coming along on short notice to talk us through the nationals.
All right.
So if anyone wants to enter, you can find all the information at Archery Australia, and if you want to follow Bernie Bowman, you can find them on Facebook. So for our second interview for the day, obviously we're at the 2020 Sydney Indoor World Festival, so seeing as we're here, we thought it would be good to chat to Jim Larven, who's the competition manager for this event. Thanks for coming in on short notice, Jim.
That's fine, no worries at all.
So we've got a couple of questions for you. The first one is, when did you start planning to actually hold this event?
I suppose in reality, we started planning this event probably 15 years ago. I was the CEO of Archery Australia for nearly 20 years, and the board of Archery Australia had always wanted us to run an international event. It was almost impossible for this country to run an international event. It's not organised enough, and there's not enough cooperation between the states to run a serious international event in this country. Also, the costs involved in running a serious event like a World Championship or a World Cup, where you need to have at least $250,000 cash, US dollars, cash in hand to pay the World Archery before you even start thinking about running the event. The World Indoor Series was somewhat similar, but after some years of negotiation, the method or the process was simplified very easily made very simple by World Archery. So countries like us with a small organising committee could actually run an international event. And the cost was dramatically reduced. This one is only costing us a fee of around $12,000 to actually run the event. So when people talk about the cost of running this event, the first cost for us was to pay World Archery a fee, let alone renting the venue or all the other facilities, all the other costs involved. So for 2 years ago, World Archery changed the rules. We were ready to go 2 years ago. There was a little bit of political issues within Archery Australia about us starting it 2 years ago. So we made the official application around the middle of last year and it got approved in August, so that's when we started planning it. Unfortunately, I would suggest to you too short a period of time. We would have been better off having a good 12 months to plan it. So next year is a much better opportunity for us to run it somewhat more professionally and easier.
So does that reduced fee that goes towards World Archery, does that also come with reduced support from World Archery?
No,
or does that mean there's more of an onus on the organisers
The
themselves?
fee to World Archery, that's my understanding, is a fee that they will use as prize money for the long-term event. All other activities from World Archery, we've got to cover the costs of, such as scoring and results. We've got to pay people to come here. So there's costs involved that's got to be met by us. So the actual base cost of putting an event on like this is around $100,000.
But most of the organising for this event has been handled locally, though. It hasn't been not too much international or national support on that. So.
We signed an agreement with World Archery. There's certain conditions we've got to comply with to meet their requirements, and then we run the event locally as we see fit within those guidelines.
Is this something you could actually run at a profit for a club long term, or is it always a kind of deficit situation?
Well, but certainly this year is a significant deficit for us.
Yeah.
Mainly because the entry numbers were nowhere near what we would have expected or liked. But that's understandable being the first year, that the entry numbers would be down a bit, particularly in the national ones. And I've got to be honest with you, we've had a lot of international people pull out of this event in the last 2 weeks due to what I would consider as the inappropriate misreporting of the news media by the news media worldwide on our fires around within Australia.
Yep.
People pulled out because in some countries in Europe they were being told that Sydney had been destroyed by fire and was being evacuated. That came out of the United States news, that came out of European news.
Right.
They clearly, some of these reporters from America standing in a fire ground 500 kilometres from Sydney, reporting that this was the outskirts, the outer suburbs of Sydney. That didn't help our entry numbers. So the fear mongering by the media has affected this tournament quite dramatically.
How many entries ballpark do you reckon you lost because of the fires?
I reckon about 70.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, well, that is quite a lot now.
Jeez, okay.
Quite a number of international people pulled out.
On the attendance, though, do you think that the time of year that this is being held has also had an effect on that in terms of other things that are going on?
Well, this is the second week of January. A lot of people in Australia are still on holidays. It may not have been the right time of the year. It was the time of the year we were given with this event.
So you've got the trade show going on in the US at this time. You've got NEAMS in Europe next week. You've also got Chinese New Year, which is going on through a lot of the Asian countries at the moment. If you could choose another time of the year to put this on, what would you...
We're currently discussing that with World Archery at the moment, and we will probably change it to a date towards the end of 2020.
Okay.
But that's still being discussed at the moment.
Yeah. What would you do differently next time in order to try and get more people to attend?
Not much. I don't think you can do much other than beg people.
I think it'll build, like as you say.
It's a building thing. If you take when it moved to Macau, I think it was about 90 entries in Macau.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon. And I'll be honest, in this country, there was a lot of misunderstanding from people. And I think there's still a lot of misunderstanding about this event. People cannot understand that it's an open tournament, although it quite clearly says in all the documentation we've put out that anyone can shoot in this event
Mm.
as long as you're a member of a National Archery Federation registered to World Archery. So we were getting inquiries from a lot of people locally. How do they get selected into the national team that's shooting this event? So a lot of the issues were, and of course what hasn't helped is what I see as, which is a big problem this archery has in this country, is the misadvice being given at club level to their members about different things, but people just go out and don't try to find the facts out. So there's lots of misunderstandings about it.
Do you think there's something that Archery Australia could potentially?
Oh, Archery Australia's helped us dramatically.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I've got no issue with what Archery Australia.
Do you think that for future events, maybe an information package could be distributed by Archery Australia to the clubs in order to ensure that club members...
There's lots of different avenues, but Archery Australia helped us deliver information through the email system to the members anyway. It's just a matter of people reading that and understanding what it says. I think the big issue these days is the fact that it's got to be spelled out pretty plain and clear for people to understand what's going on, and not listen to the rumours that get developed within the sport.
But I think just looking at that in the fighters, you could easily add another 150 people on next
no
year
question about it.
straight away.
No question about it. No question about it.
Yeah.
So let me tell you how this event works. We've signed a memorandum of understanding. That is, my club has signed a memorandum of understanding.
And that's Liverpool
for City Archers.
City Archers, yeah.
With the support of Archery Australia, to run this event for the next 2 years. This year and 2 more.
Great, awesome.
Contrary to what some people think, no, it won't go to a different venue each year. It's going to stay somewhere in Sydney. It has to be in Sydney. That's part of the requirement of World Archery. They want it in a city like Sydney. They don't want it in rural areas, as some people are trying to convince me of it, because they don't want people travelling within the country. They want central point of entry in it.
near an airport as well.
So they want it as simple as possible. And so that's what. So it'll be in Sydney for the next 2 years. More than likely this venue, but maybe not. We are looking at other venues as well.
I think this venue works well.
Yeah, this venue works well. It's fine. It has some limitations, but it works fine. We'd like something bigger, but unfortunately in Sydney, bigger means more money.
Well, if you can get more entrants.
But if we do get more entrants, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
For the Indoor World Series, we can quite easily go to another flight and have, instead of running 2 flights, morning and afternoon, we can have morning, afternoon and evening. So it's not an issue.
There's a couple of the venues that a couple of the other legs of the World Series are doing that. They're running multiple legs throughout the day.
That's right.
Multiple days, actually. You get to name
multiple days.
2 or 3 days of ranking rounds.
Yes, exactly right. So the daydream sometime in the future would be to run an event like Noons. But from an archery point of view in this country, we've got to start running these smaller events before we ever think about running the big events, the World Championships and what have you. We do have a World Youth Championships coming up in Perth soon.
Yep.
That's not going to be anywhere near the size of a World Championships, but we should be working towards that. But the big problem is the actual knowledge of how to run these events. My knowledge goes back to running lots of events for archery back in the 80s and 90s, lots of national championships, and of course I was the competition manager for the Sydney Olympics. So I spent 4 years of my life getting that event together. So people look at something like Olympic Games and says, "Oh, that's a good event," but they have no idea about the logistics that goes on behind it. Even this event here, the logistics going on behind it. Liverpool City Archers went out and got a grant from the state government for $200,000, and we've invested in $2,000 worth of archery equipment, target butts, target stands, custom-made lighting, all the equipment needed to run a world outdoor event as well as an indoor event. But the problem you have with running an outdoor event of the size that would be required is the facilities in a city like Sydney just don't exist to run for that big target venue pointing in the right direction. It's a major issue with a lot of the capital cities. They just don't have outdoor facilities big enough to cater for a lot of those. They don't have very close residential facilities around them.
So were you involved? Was the World Field in Canberra 2002? Was that the last international event Australia has held?
Yes, it was.
Were you involved with that?
From a point of, as an overseas point of view, I was asked to be the technical delegate for that to make sure it was being done to the rules. Yeah.
So your long-term goal is to use this as kind of a springboard to get some outdoor events?
Outdoor world champs.
Maybe not necessarily having any involvement from me,
Yeah.
but certainly for this sport to actually understand what's needed. Because I think the problem I see within archery is that the archers have no idea what's involved in running an event.
There is a lot of experience there that is needed to be built. You can't be around in the sport forever, and someone else needs to learn how to do these things.
That's right. Yeah. One of the exercises that I'm going through is that I've got a group from my club who I'm training to run these events. Because I don't want to be running them in a few years' time. Been in this sport for 55 years now. I'm running a lot of events over those years, and it's time someone else started to move forward.
I imagine it'd be stressful. Obviously, a lot.
Oh yes. Sleep doesn't come real easy in leading up to these events.
But you do put on a good event.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah. But in saying all that, this event has run way it has run so far due to the great work done by all the volunteers from the club and outside of this club. We've had a lot of volunteers from around the state as well. So the people are the important thing, but the people knowing what they're doing helps as well.
I heard someone say a while ago that World Archery wants to have an outdoor World Cup held in Sydney, but they were saying they want you to shoot finals in front of the Opera House, is what I heard going around. If you want to...
Some years ago, and we're talking about some years ago now, the suggestion was made to have a World Cup finals in Sydney.
Right.
And no question about that. And the suggestion was the forecourt of the Opera House. Given at that stage, and we're talking now about 15 years ago, they were quoting $30,000+ a day to rent a forecourt, just outside of the league of this sport. But the other problem is we also had to prove to them that we were able to deliver a cultural benefit to the city for us to be considered. We looked at other facilities such as Darling Harbour, but the room is the biggest issue for a lot of those things. So yes, Sydney, Melbourne, probably even Brisbane would be considered for a indoor World Cup final if a proposal went forward, but the venue is pretty critical.
Okay.
So the biggest factor you've got to get though is the political support from the government and the city involved.
Yeah. I imagine the insurance would be a bit of a nightmare as well, having people shooting arrows in the middle of the city.
To some degree, I'm sure to some degree you would run across that, but I think the biggest thing is to convince government that the sport is viable enough to actually, or important enough to allow them to spend their time supporting it. Hence, one of the reasons that we're doing here is to be producing our own videos out of this to go to the state government to say, hey, archery exists, we need to think about this some more.
We don't sort of think like that because, to us, the archery is everything.
That's right.
But, we've got to get it out. And,
I hate to say this to the Archers of Australia, that most government doesn't even know we exist. Someone within the department might know about archery, but from a support point of view, spending money on a sport like this, we've got to prove that people are actually interested. And it's going to give some benefit back to the city.
How do you think the easiest way to prove that is? Do you think
it's
in membership numbers, or is it in hosting large-scale events?
I think it's about hosting events and proving that you can actually, that it's viable to actually run an event, and that people are interested. Because anyone can run an event, but maybe no one's interested in what you're doing. Like this weekend down by the archery club, Liverpool Archery Club on the other side of the river, is World Water Ski Championships in the river.
The World Championships, right?
I think they're running a national championships to lead up to the World Championships. Okay. It's got almost no publicity as well. So it becomes. I think it's all about the tiers of the sport, the various tiers sport may be within the culture, within the cultural mind of the people that are actually living within that environment. So I know from my experience working with Archery Australia, lots of people want to do archery. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Lots of people want to have a go at archery. Not everyone wants to wants to do archery.
Say for the long term.
For a long-term thing.
Yeah.
But I would suggest to you that one of the ways to actually change that is to create events that are in people's face all the time. So events like this should be run maybe twice or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Within Australia, and then with social media, you get the images out there that have people think about archery.
Is there potential to televise something like this locally on local sport stations? And
the biggest problem you got with that is the TV stations wanting to invest in the cost of putting on the televising the event, and whether they're going to get the commercial return from the people watching it.
Okay.
That's going to be the big issue.
Yeah.
That'll be use your videos once again.
Yeah,
Because
so-
I hope that they only have to see the event running, and they see how much we love it.
So you just got to see what World Archery did. They couldn't get anybody to any TV network to take archery. So they got their own TV production company, went out and did their own videoing, streamed it on YouTube, and now it's got to a level where in many of the in Europe it's Eurosport, and America it's now ESPN, and Korea it's Korean TV. Now take a lot of that stuff live because the social media created the platform to actually make it worth their while. So that's something we need to do. So some of the things that we need to actually do here, and some of the issues I've got here with this event, and some of the issues I've got with Archery Australia, is that there's all the bright I had with Archery Australia. At least I don't have it anymore, thank God. It's someone else's problem. But one of the issues that I had with that is that it's a good idea to actually do these things, but someone's actually got to do it. So you need the people with the expertise to do the video productions. You can employ people to do it, but that's many thousands of dollars you've got to find. And this sport doesn't have the money. Because I'll be honest with you, one of the criticisms I've got about archery and archers is most archers are tight as can be when it comes to that. They'll spend thousands on a bow, but they don't want to spend any money on supporting it, be part of the
and tournament entry fees and that kind of stuff.
fees.
Yeah.
And this sport is really, and I say this to all the archers in Australia listening to this sport is so cheap to participate in.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I've always said this.
And that if you just go look at what people would be paying today to go off and little Johnny to play a soccer team or a cricket team,
Swimming or something,
or any other sporting event, it's nothing to what we pay to.
Yeah, if you look at something like motorsport or your shooting sports other than archery that have consumable ammunition, it's like those people are going out and paying $250, $300, $500 per event to compete in. And yeah, they might not be seeing much of a return in that either. But on the other side of that though, when they are winning, there is a bit more of a return. And so there is that prize money aspect there.
No question about it. So we do undersell the sport to ourselves and to everybody else. And from a club point of view, the income doesn't come through for the club to actually invest in itself to expand, and then hence the sport doesn't expand.
But I think holding an event like this would definitely help that because you're driving participation, increasing that, and then it'll all scale up.
So one of the things that Liverpool has done in the last 12 months, at least since I retired, was to actually make me the club coach, and they've now set up their own little pro shop within the business I've set up within the club, to actually deliver something to the people wanting to come through the door.
Yeah.
And the end result will be that in the last 12 months, my club has gone to double its membership to 200 members. So we've got 100 members in a year.
That's huge.
So I would ask if that brings us onto a sort of wider topic, but what's your opinion on professionalism and coaching in archery?
Every archery instructor should be paid.
Yep.
Every coach should be paid. the quality of the service delivered is a reflection of what the people are getting out of it. For years, this sport has said, I instruct or I coach because I like the sport. Do they actually do it properly? You've got to deliver a service, and if you deliver a service for nothing, the people will take it in as it's worth nothing.
Yep.
Charge some dollars, people will listen to you better, and they will actually hopefully benefit from it better. So and that's one of the things that we all should be looking at. I've developed this Archery 101 program, which is so we do our come and tries, and then people come and do Archery 101, and we've now gone from, we do about 40 people a weekend on archery come and tries on an average, and from that average, I'm now getting at least 25 of those doing the Archery 101, signing up for the Archery 101 every week.
That's good. That's very good.
So, and that's the sort of thing we can do. I'm making a nice little retirement income out of it, which isn't affecting my pension because I'm not have a pension. But it's so I'm looking after myself that way. But it's also developing the membership in the club, and that's exactly what the club wanted.
And it's an interesting model you've talked about there with the club and the shop kind of as one. Because if you look at a sport like golf, I know I've played very little golf, but it's so easy to just go down, pay high clubs, you can buy everything, all the coaches are there, and it's just so streamlined.
And I'm going to say something fairly controversial here. There's a lot of people sell archery equipment in Australia.
Yeah.
There's a few people, in my opinion, sell archery equipment positively in Australia.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who just simply sell bows to people.
Yeah.
They don't care about if they ever see them again.
Yeah.
They don't care if that person is not going to injure themselves, isn't going to shoot somebody, is going to shoot them. It's been any issues with it. The people who care about this sport are the archery clubs.
Yep.
They should be the ones that care about the sport.
Absolutely. Yep.
And the archery club should all consider having some sort of pro shop and servicing the members and the people who come in the door with the best equipment. So, because this sport is really, really, Archery Australia and its clubs, and I say this after 20 years of being the CEO of Archery Australia, this sport is really good at dragging people through the front door.
Mm-hmm.
This sport is reasonably good at introducing the sport to them at a low level. This sport is not very good at getting them beyond that point, and this sport is appalling at keeping someone over 12 months.
Yep.
So there needs to be a lot of work done on that. That's not Archery Australia's job.
Mm.
Certainly it's Archery Australia's job maybe to train people to do that.
Facilitate the process.
That's not even the state's job. That's the club job to actually. The clubs are responsible for the long-term growth of the sport on the face-to-face. And the only way that can possibly happen is for them to actually be motivated. And the way you would motivate people is to give them a financial encouragement to come back every week to teach somebody.
And ultimately, the age of the volunteer is over because people have got more demanding jobs. People just don't have the time anymore. And you look at so many clubs that have had that model where they have a shop and a pro shop and paid coaching, and they've generally been the successful ones.
All the time,
but the culture is to shoot that down. You can't charge for coaching, you can't sell equipment. But all the successful clubs and the successful sports who've used that have been the ones that have had that good program.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And it's the only way the sport could grow in the future. It's the way it's done overseas. This archery come and try model that I introduced to Archery Australia back around, I initially introduced it through New South Wales in 1996 and then onto Archery Australia. Because in the old days, and none of you guys sitting around this table are old enough to remember this, but if someone wanted to do archery, it was a 4-week, 2-hour instruction class. Day one was sit down in front of a whiteboard and we'll tell you about archery for 2 hours.
Yeah. Right.
The model has to be, you want to do archery, come and try, coming down, here's a 2-minute safety talk, here's your bow, here's your arrow, let's shoot some arrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
People just want to turn up and be able to shoot.
And the other reason we did the archery come and try was a filter. As I mentioned earlier, lots of people want to try archery. They may not necessarily want to do archery, but they want to try archery. In the old system where it was 4 hours, and you might sign up 10 people for a 4-hour course, you run the course day one, you end up with 3 next day because they all got disillusioned by the fact they wanted to shoot a bow.
Yeah.
But the other thing is to come and try becomes a filter. To filter those that just want to have a go and not really long-term interested. And so you filter those down to the ones who are actually being interested. so you can actually make dollars out of the come try to find a filter to those who are actually interested in moving forward with the archery.
We definitely get a bit of that down at Eliza because we're good at recognising who wants to continue on, and we start pouring resources into them. Start offering them coaching and that sort of stuff. And it's good that we've all got the equipment ready to go. We can show them.
And one of the things clubs need to think about, and if you take my club for instance, I can tell you now that we have probably about 25 compound bows sitting on our shelf for people to use. Good quality compound bows, multi-draw length adjustable things, so we can adjust it to each person. So if a person has a 101 and they want to shoot a compound, we assign them a bow for the course. Recurves, we've probably got about 100 recurve bows, all different weights. So when someone comes down and buys a bow from the club, we sell them a handle, we sell them the sight, we sell them the arrows, and we loan them 20-pound limbs. 3 weeks' time, we might then take those 20-pound limbs away and loan them 24-pound limbs. And a few months, when they're up to 35, 36 pound, then it's time to buy your limbs.
I know Maringo was saying they did a similar system to that with limb loading. It's a really good idea. Yeah.
That's the approach we take because we know if people want to shoot recurve, one of the biggest dropout factors is the people in the club say to that new person, "Oh, you need to buy a 40-pound bow." So their first bow is a 40-pound bow. You don't see them very long after they've bought that bow.
Because it hurts to shoot.
So they can't handle it. So I think the way in which people think about getting people into the sport needs to change as well. And the clubs are the ones that have to lead that. The other thing I'll say to everybody out there in archery clubs, get to know your local members, both state and federal. Invite them down, have a talk to them, because I tell you, when there's money about, they are only too happy to deliver money to you. Get to know your local council, like here in Liverpool. Whenever they've got something happening, like the Christmas event in the mall, we were the only sport to be represented at the Christmas ball with our blow-up archery come and try range. When it comes to the quarterly markets over at markets where they invite all the sports to come on and put a display, we're the only ones that turn up. The people of Liverpool Council come back all the time and say, "Do you want anything from us?"
That's good.
So yes, it's about sucking up to the people, no question about it, but the benefits long term. Now, our $200,000, we got that because we had established a relationship with the state member. So when we put a project to them, they said, "Well, leave it with us, we'll look into it for you," and away we went from there.
Yeah.
So the hierarchy of archery clubs need to be proactive as well.
Yeah. Oh, good. Cool. Well, that was really good. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anywhere you want to, like, where people can follow Liverpool Archers and the World Indoor?
Okay. Well, there's a website for the World Indoor.
Yep.
Same as Liverpool.
Yep.
But I think these days I wouldn't be too fussed about the websites. Our Facebook and Twitter feeds are the way to go.
Yep.
Particularly this event.
And what's the handle for those accounts?
I think it's indoor.
You're out of my league.
I think it's City Indoor Archery Festival for the Facebook page.
Okay.
And it'd be Liverpool City Archers for the Liverpool City Archers.
The best way to do it would just get down to your local club and get down there and ask. Someone down there's bound to know.
Exactly right.
Absolutely the best way to get started.
Exactly right.
And are there any sponsors you've had here you want to shout out?
Well, yeah, the Holiday Inn up the road's been great to us.
Yep.
And we've had lots of sponsors. Go to the website or the Facebook page, you'll find out who they all are. I particularly want to thank Cylinder Archery over there in China, who are bringing their gear into Australia now, who have been very supportive of this event.
Yep.
So it's some of those manufacturers in China want to get their brands onto the world market, and they're good quality stuff as well. So
Yep.
at good prices. So thanks to those as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you, Jim.
Yep.
And hopefully over the next 2 years the event continues to grow and it can only do good things in this country.
Yeah, we're hoping with our plans for changing the dates next year, and we've been in discussions with Well Archery now. And I can tell you now, I'm sitting in our little office in there already doing the entry forms for next year.
Nice.
There's no dates on them yet.
Yeah.
But between you and I, it won't be in January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, awesome. Well, hopefully in a year's time we can catch up and see how well the event's
Probably
going
won't
over
be
that
a year,
time.
it'll probably be a few months less than
A few months less. There's some spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it has to be somewhere between October and end of January, the events.
Okay.
So,
Awesome.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Jim.
Pleasure. No
Cheers.
worries.